So I got to play close to 3 hours of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and as someone who is a big fan of their movies and an even bigger fan of Machine Games and their other titles like Wolfenstein, I've been looking forward to this game for some time now, and I was really excited to be able to attend this event. Now, just for full transparency, of course, they did fly me out, they covered my flights and a hotel, but I did not receive any other kind of compensation. One other final detail before jumping into my thoughts is all of this footage was provided to me by Bethesda and Machine Games. There was absolutely no on-site capture whatsoever. So as of writing this, I have absolutely no clue what will be included for the B-roll, so I do apologize if what I'm saying does not actually match up or align with what's on screen, but I will do my best based on what I'm given. So let's jump into what I loved, liked, and did not like about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So I was able to play 2 different missions during this build. One was a much smaller linear section at Marshall College that ran for about 45 minutes, and the other was a much larger section in which I played for about a little over 90 minutes. The first section at Marshall College, Indy wakes up and someone has broken into the campus, and you are trying to find clues as to who and its whereabouts. Now right off the bat, what I was a really big fan of was the cutscenes and voice work. Troy Baker, who is voicing Indy this time around, and I think he does a fantastic job and really sells this role. Genuinely, at times, I was convinced this was Harrison Ford, which is the biggest compliment I can give you. Getting some of the specific audio and even just the mannerisms down to a T was a very nice touch. But again, the story so far was very intriguing off the bat with very nice cutscenes. Now, right once this cutscene was over, we were thrown right into some gameplay, and myself, along with many others, were very curious as to why this was first person and not third. And I still see a ton of people hung up on this. And I will just say, I honestly think this feels very normal. It will often switch to third person when you climb up something and use the whip for traversal. It really does feel smooth, but Machine Games has almost always done exclusively FPS games, so it obviously is where they're most comfortable. But I just wanted to mention it that it feels very normal, which is good here. I think if you were somebody who is really hung up on it, it kind of just falls by the wayside very quickly. So you do some very light puzzle solving in this first section, which wasn't too impressive, but this was literally the first mission, so again, I don't really think that's a negative. Now we also get a pretty good look at the combat here too. There's a lot of stealth in this first section, and I think this is going to be one of those games that people really don't know how it feels until they actually get their hands on it, because the way it looks and feels is definitely different, and I was pleasantly surprised on how good some of the portions were. Now there were absolutely some rough edges to it, of course, but it overall feels nice. You can use stealth to sneak up behind people, carry bodies, hide them, and most importantly, there are a lot of items to pick up and knock people out with in both stealth and in just combat in general. Now this was a big surprise to me. I mean, there was like a lot of different items to grab and utilize here, like hammers, brooms, bats, bottles, and they will all break after so many hits. The game definitely wants and encourages you to utilize your environment, which I thought was nice. Now granted, most of them work the exact same way and don't really change the actual overall gameplay, but it is fun scrambling during an encounter to give you a leg up during a fight. And when it comes to the actual hand-to-hand, you can punch, charge up heavy attack, block, perform a parry if timed right, and for the most part, it feels smooth. I think this game's hand-to-hand combat is at its best when it is one-on-one. I had several instances where I was fighting like 2 or 3 people attacking at once, and it honestly felt a little janky. Then you also have the whip, of course. You can pull weapons from the enemies, stun them. It's pretty effective in combat overall, but I honestly didn't find myself using it too often, which was interesting. You even have a revolver and weapons you can pick up from different enemies. You can only hold on to the revolver, which you will need to find ammo for. But when it comes to the other guns, they are essentially a one-time use and you can't even store them, at least based on the version that I played. But what is neat is after you run out of bullets, if you want to, you can use the gun as a melee weapon until it breaks. I thought this was super cool. I also really enjoy how the skill tree can work. You find these books around the map which has various skills and you can decide which ones you want to spend points on and unlock. This kind of allows allows for a different variety of builds. I mean, some are for combat, healing, etc. Performance-wise, in the first mission, everything ran relatively smoothly as well. There was one simple optional puzzle in this mission as well, but again, this really felt like an introductory mission to both us, and it might even be the first mission in the actual game. I really don't have too much else to say because it was super linear, very short, but the next mission I have quite a lot more to say about. But this mission was much more open, and that leads me to what I did not expect about this game. I will not say the map was inherently super large, but it did feel dense, and there was a lot of stuff to do, which honestly I did not have enough time to do at all, which was super unfortunate. But we are immediately introduced to a new item, which is the camera, which will have you take pictures at certain locations to earn adventure points to use for upgrades that I was talking about earlier. And in this mission, there was quite a lot more to do. I was initially looking for 4 different items to bring back, and even before I started the mission, I ran into 2 more optional missions and an underground fight club, which I never even got the chance to gain access to. We are also introduced to the idea of different disguises here, which is very helpful in infiltrating different places without getting caught. Now, this will not 100% prevent you from getting caught, but it will enhance the time immensely. In searching for these 4 separate items, I had to go through several puzzles as well, one of which had me solve this mirror puzzle to get out, and I had to fight off scorpions. Now, this felt very Indiana Jonesy, which was very nice. I ran into a few more combat sections here. I got to use a machine gun, a sniper rifle, and that gunplay was honestly a little less impressive to me. Not that I thought it was bad or anything, just nothing too special. I saw a few more cutscenes here, which I found very enjoyable. Again, great acting and performances from everyone so far. Literally 0 complaints there. Now let me go ahead and jump into some of the things I did not like and wished for. Now this one is not an inherent negative about the game, but during this preview I really wish there was a big set piece moment, kind of like in one of the movies. I truly do believe that those will be here, of course, because these guys definitely seem like they are big Indiana Jones fans. I mean, we even got a preview of one of these in the trailers where kind of like the sand was rising, you had to think on your feet and look for an exit. I just kind of wanted that fire underneath you and to feel that pressure like Indy does in the movies when he accidentally sets off a trap and has to think quickly. Also, like jumping onto a plane where the iconic music is kicking in. Again, there was just kind of none of that in here. It was a relatively slower demo, and I think that really would have benefited in giving me just a little bit more of a taste on what we're in store for. Again, I preface very heavily, take this with a grain of salt because these are likely going to be in the full game. You can clearly tell these guys love Indiana Jones and the IP, and they want to do right by it. I just maybe thought it would be nice to at least see one in here. And also, this section was so big to explore, I never got to interact with the main villain, which was super unfortunate. I literally got to him and my time was called, so I had to stop. All the employees kept gassing up this supposed cutscene that was with him, and only one other person in our entire group got to do it, and they said I was the second farthest person to make it along. I'm gonna review the footage and hopefully we'll get to see some of that interaction and let you know my thoughts, but as of right now, again, this is not a negative on the game per se. I just wish it was something I could have seen and related back to you guys and just gassed me up a little bit more. What is really the big issue, unfortunately, is bugs. This was quite literally and by far the buggiest preview event I think I have ever attended. Now, of course, this was a work in progress build. They let us know that these are potentially going to be there. They still have a few months for polish, which they said they are currently doing, and I do believe that genuinely. Now, none of these crashed the game for me personally, but I do know somebody who had to completely reset their game 3 different times. But for me, there was a lot of floating things, people, sometimes the AI would just stop fighting me altogether. There was a moment during a puzzle where everything turned blue, the floor disappeared, my objective was missing. And unfortunately, I think this is why they did not want us to record, because honestly, I would have had quite a bit to show for the bugs in this build. But I genuinely mean it did not hinder my enjoyment at all, and nothing, at least in my preview, was game breaking. This is mostly very fixable stuff. I just did find it quite odd that there was a relatively decent amount in here. Now, back on the positive sides, there's also quite a bit of Indiana Jones material to chew on here, and I think if you were a big fan of the movies, there are going to be loads of references here for you to pick up on, which should go without saying, of course. Now, they did reiterate this game is meant to make you feel like an archaeologist and put you in the shoes of Indy, and it really is about exploration and the puzzle solving and less on the combat side. Like, there was quite a bit of downtime in this preview build, and they kept emphasizing about the exploration. exploration. And I got a lot of different tastes on what it was going to be like, which I really did enjoy, but again, there was just never that big moment so far that really got me crazy pumped about this game, and I just think I could have used that. As of right now, I'm still very much looking forward to this game, and I do have a much better idea of what it will look like, of course. I just wish I got an even better look in behind the curtain on what this game will fully offer, kind of when it's kicking into full gear. And since this is coming to Game Pass on day one, I definitely think this is worth a playthrough for fans of exploration and puzzle games, and of course, Indiana Jones fans. I think there is a lot here so far to satisfy you, and I think this game just needs a little bit more time in the oven to cook, to work on polish, and we could really have a solid Indiana Jones game with a very high quality story that feels like the movies it's based on. I really do hope they stick the landing here, so that's all I got for you. I plan on doing a full review once the game comes out. I do believe I am getting a review copy, so make sure to subscribe, keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one.